There were murmurings among the locals about an old and decrepit cabin in the dense woods of Pinehaven, which they called the Dark Cabin. The people would warn travelers about the cabin, but it still consumed many lives of the tribal community that lived in Pinehaven. Legends whispered of the terrors that lurked within its walls. Few dared to venture there, but curiosity often tempts the fearless to explore the hidden danger. I was one of those people. On one fateful weekend, Emily and I, along with Jack and Alice, were hanging out at a restaurant. Alice was busy on her phone reading an article that had her face full of fear. "What are you reading?" inquired Jack. Alice replied, "It's written here that a family's gone missing staying at a scary cabin in Pinehaven. Haunting whispers, ghostly apparitions, and unspeakable terrors await those who dare to step into the cabin's dark embrace." As she read us the news, we were silent. And then Emily's sarcastic laugh interrupted us. "So let's discover that freaking cabin. It'll be fun," Emily proposed. Alice wasn't taken seriously by any of us, and I asked her to read the article further. She further described the whispers of unseen entities and the chilling aura that surrounded the cabin. This news ignited a spark of curiosity within all of us. With each word, she painted a picture of an adventure waiting where we could unfold the unknown and uncover the secrets that lay within this story. That's when we decided to seek an adventure at this mysterious cabin. Alice wasn't sure about it, and Jack was skeptical, but I persuaded them to go on a trip and take a weekend away. So we planned everything at the restaurant, and then went home to pack up and head to the dark cabin. As we reached the forest, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out for us. We were warned by many locals, but, blinded by curiosity, continued our track. When we caught the sight of the dark cabin for the first time, a collective shiver ran down our spines, captivated by its foreboding presence. The entire structure was standing alone in the silence. As we stepped inside, I felt a strange feeling of discomfort. Little did we know that our arrival had awakened an ancient presence in that forest. It was a malevolent force that has been around for centuries. As we unpacked our bags, we all were feeling a little uneasy. As the night settled, whispers of the wind started to echo through the trees. Alice and Emily ventured into the creaking attic, with their flashlight beams dancing across the dusty furniture of the cabin. Among the forgotten belongings, they both discovered an old-looking diary. Its pages were filled with cryptic warnings about a mysterious creature, which they called a skinwalker. It was the very creature that had been haunting the woods for centuries. Alice and Emily continued to delve deeper into the diary. With every turn of a page, their hands started trembling more and more. The diary revealed that the skinwalker is a vengeful spirit which was once a human, but is now turned into an abomination. While Emily and Alice were up in the attic reading the diary, Jack and I went around the cabin to explore the surrounding forest, unaware of the lurking danger. It was a full moon that night. The moonlight illuminated the twisted branches and cast long, menacing shadows of the trees on the ground. All of a sudden, a rustling in the bushes caught our attention, but we tried to ignore it as a small animal, as a raccoon. But we eventually sensed a growing unease around us. Each step on the leaf-covered ground seemed to echo ominously. Suddenly, the forest fell silent. A deafening silence that chilled our souls. We could sense a being of some sort around us, but couldn't see anything. We ran towards the cabin. Alice and Emily were inside, and their hearts were pounding as they started hearing faint whispers. We reached the cabin, and Emily explained to us about the diary as well as the mysterious whispers around them. Suddenly, Alice started screaming while pointing at a thin, dark shadow that was moving along the window. Alice was terrified with her trembling lips and big, wide eyes, just staring at the shadow. When we turned towards where she was pointing, we could all see the shadow from the corner of our eye. Alice turned back to Emily, but by then, her eyes were empty with her mouth open, and she collapsed on the floor. The skinwalker had taken its first victim. Emily tried to revive Alice, but her eyes were wide open and her skin had turned yellow. Her body felt lifeless, but we could still feel her breath. Fear clutched our hearts, but we knew that in order to get away, we'd have to fight. In a desperate bid for survival, Jack and I armed ourselves with anything that could be used against the creature. As we braced ourselves, the cabin erupted in chaos. Furniture started crashing into the walls. Finally, the door flew open, and we caught the first sight of the skinwalker, standing just outside the cabin with its twisted and contorted body, which seemed to be a mix of faces and limbs. It lunged at Jack with lightning speed, but he managed to get away by hitting it with a piece of plywood he found and left a mark on the creature's body. This hit seemed to weaken the creature, and it took some time to recover. I seized the opportunity when I saw an antique dagger hidden below the diary. As I gripped the dagger, the skinwalker shrieked like a demon that was angry enough to kill every one of us. It lunged back at Jack, and this time threw him against the wall. Emily was crying with fear now that Alice and Jack were both knocked out on the floor. Our only hope was the dagger, and maybe we could create enough damage to give us enough time to run away. As the skinwalker was still facing Jack, I went towards it, drew the dagger back, and stabbed its arm with as much power as I could. The skinwalker was stunned, and we could see it was in pain. At the very next moment, Emily threw the diary in the fire. A high-pitched and piercing cry filled the cabin, which was loud enough to shake our bones. The stab wound grew larger and larger, and the skinwalker dissolved in a swirling mist, leaving behind only a bitter, lingering coldness. With the threat vanquished, we clung to one another, our bodies trembling with relief and fear. Finally, Alice woke up, and we gave Jack first aid. We couldn't leave the forest, though, until morning. Although we escaped this incident, we had witnessed enough horror in that forest and the dark cabin that it still haunts us with nightmares. It changed our lives forever. It's still said that the skinwalker did not die that night and continues to haunt those woods and the dark cabin.